Hello everybody, back on the 2004 Mercury Grand Marquis. I'm going to call it official. October has started early. This car has 3 problems. We'll go through them. I'll turn the key on and probably be able to tell what problem number 1 is. That shouldn't blow the fan. It's turned off, so we got a full power fan blowing out the defrost and a little bit out of the floor. So that's 2 problems. Next problem, the driver's side window does no longer go down because the regulator's bad. That's for another day. Right now is going to troubleshoot the AC. Now that I've assessed the situation, let's get into working on it. Here's my plan of action. First, I'm going to figure out what's going on with the blower motor. I have watched some videos about solder joints being bad on the blower motor control module. So I'm going to pull that out, and I guess I'll swap the relays from the starter to the blower motor and see if the relay is stuck, and then check the solder connections on that module and reflow them if they're bad. If that doesn't work, I will swap in a known good module, and if that solves the problem, I don't have to go any further. Now on the vacuum portion of the problem, I will confirm that I'm getting good vacuum here at the source where that manifold plugs into this unit, and then if I need to, I can go from the main vacuum source to each other connection and make sure everything switches. If it does, I know I don't have a broken vacuum line somewhere or an actuator that's messed up. I can pretty much rule it down to being a fault within this controller. So if that goes as planned, I will pull this controller out and replace the 4 O-rings and the solenoids. So let's get in there and get started. One thing of note on my troubleshooting procedure, before I condemned the blower module, I swapped 301 and 302. 302 is the starter, and then 301 is the blower relay. Swapped it, made no difference. I just wanted to confirm whether or not the relay was stuck in the on position. So it made no difference what position those were in, it still acted the same way. I did a video a while back, I will include it here, on replacing this blower resistor module. Well, it failed a different way this time. Key on, fan full blast, period. So I was reading around on some soldering that could come loose on it. 2 screws. See those 2 holes right in the middle of the screen? Those come out, and then this thing kind of tilts out this assembly. Pull it out from there, the tabs, and then it comes out. I'll set it on the vise and take a look at it. See what we got here. The magnifying glass. I don't know if it will show up on camera, but those 2 large connectors, there's 3 small ones closest to me, and then the 2 on the next row of the board, solder joints are cracked. So I'm going to reflow all these and see if it starts working properly again. They may show up better from this side. But those solder joints are completely cracked through all the way around. This thing was intermittent, according to my grandpa, and then it just quit working, so that does make sense, the failure mode. So we'll see what happens here. A couple of moments later, we are reflowed. I will reassemble this thing and pop it back in the car and see if there's any difference. All reassembled and ready to go back in the car, which is always the fun part. Let's see if that worked. Nope. Did not. So that was a fail. I guess the easiest thing would be is substitute another module in there just right quick and see if that resolves the fan issue. I'll go turn the key on. I'll make sure I'm not touching anything metal. Won't leave it on too long because I don't want that to have no cooling effect on it from the fan. So let's see what happens. Turn the key on, see what happens. Okay, so that solved that problem. But we're still blowing out of the defrost up here. I need air here. So at least that solved one problem. Go ahead and I can cut it off now. And it turns off the fan. And then that ramps up like it should. So, one down, 2 problems to go. I've already made a video on this procedure, so I'll leave a link in the description to reference that video. And just about 10-15 minutes later, I've got the module replaced. There's the elevator module. When I pulled it out, I had that faint burnt electronic smell, so I'm sure this one just absolutely fried. But I may save it because at least I know I've got high speed. That might come in handy. If that one fails, at least we'll have high speed when we're running the HVAC. So now let's crank it up and see what happens. Compressor kicked on. Here comes the fan, and it's now blowing out the dash. So that's interesting. That's an interesting turn of events. Did not expect that. I do suspect the O-rings are drying up in that control head, so I'm probably going to go ahead and replace those. That was going to be my next troubleshooting, to see if that was the problem. But let's go through all the settings now. Put it on the floor. Okay, it's going to the floor. Then we'll go to defrost. It's coming out of the defrost. So go back to automatic and see what happens. And it stayed on defrost. So yeah, there's still definitely a problem. Because my grandpa said it was kind of, it would work and then it wouldn't work. So I see what he's saying now. It did come on and work for a brief moment. Now, for the next step, I am going to remove this trim piece right here. See if I can get this trim piece off. Should just pull off. And just being careful with the clips. And there may be connectors. There's that. Get that up out of the way. And there's what it looks like without the trim piece. Next, I need to get these 4 screws out. And I'm using a 9/32. I believe a 7mm would also work. That one that fell down. Okay, now I'll ease this on out just a little bit. Got a small screwdriver, just going to mash on the tab. I don't know if that'll show up clearly or not, but that'll just pull out. And repeat the same for the other 2. Nope, there's just one. Looks like these are a bit tricky to get just right when they come out. There it goes. Kind of difficult to see that tab, but it pushes in and then they'll release. Now for this, see what kind of size I need there for that. It's a 10mm, and I'm just using the socket because this is just those little plastic posts. Don't want to go too crazy with those, with these speed nuts. I'm very good at breaking these, so I'm going real easy with them. And there's the second one. Maybe being a little stubborn today. There it is. And now this manifold should slide right off. Alright. Time to take this in the house and work on this. For this part of the job, I'm going to need some silicone grease, a pick, a T20 Torx, a small flat blade screwdriver, a number 1 Phillips screwdriver, a regular pair of pliers, and these O-rings right here. I will leave a link in the description on where to get these. Let's get to work. I have a T20. There's a screw there, there's a screw there. Those need to come out. allegedly that slides up and out. Next, this red connector needs to be removed. Just gently wiggle it out. Set the rest of the unit aside. Here's the assembly we're after. Got an O-ring in each one of these. Up next is my #1 Phillips. Take these green screws out. That one was loose. Take note of that. Yep. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's change some O-rings. First step, lay it down flat. Get the flat blade screwdriver under this tab and work that up. Flip it. Do the same thing here. I found resting the screwdriver on my middle finger and use it as a fulcrum, I can get under there and get that pried up. Then the next step I go ahead and straighten it with the pliers and do the same over here on this side. And I'll kind of have them at that sticking out, maybe at a 15-degree angle or so. And then that way this tab will slide out pretty easily. As well as this one's got to come out. Looks like these are going to be just a little bit more stubborn than I had anticipated, so they'll come out. Just be patient with them. May have to bend this a little bit more. Not too much though. And there it goes. And then the other side comes out a lot easier once the first side releases. Then just tilt it out and wiggle it, and that comes out, watching for that spring and that. Don't want to lose all those. Just pop those back in, pop the O-ring off, with the pick. See, that one was gone. That one just shattered when I took it loose. Get the next O-ring. I'll grab an O-ring out of my pack there. I will grease it up with my silicone grease. And then roll it out into that groove, and maybe put just a little bit more. A little goes a long way. Just a little bit more in there, and then we'll pop that back in, and then orient this straight and pop those two tabs back in like so. And then I can take, being real careful, just bend them back into place. And then I'll take my pliers and then I'm just going to squeeze those back straight, and that one's done. Let's do another one. Again, I can use my finger as a fulcrum to get the angle just right. Flip. And there we go. Get the pliers. Get my angle I want. That one may need to go up a little bit more before I can get the pliers on it. There it is. And now pull that tab out, flip it, pull this tab out, and carefully pull all that mess out. That one, the spring stayed on it. And then I want to make sure this piece, if I can show it, whoops, pardon me, that goes in like so. I wouldn't want to get it backwards. And then I'll just go ahead and put the spring in there. Pop the O-ring with the pick. Yeah, this one's hard too. I would imagine these two right here were the problem. See, that one just broke as well. And then we'll give it a dab of silicone grease and slide the O-ring on the shaft and get it in that groove. A little dab of more silicone should suffice. Now put that plunger back in there. Well, good news, with a bit of persuasion, I got it back in place. Very important to be patient with stuff like this. And then we'll get the pliers on there and square them back up. And the manifold is rebuilt. Alright, let's get the screws back in it. And the last screw. I'll just quickly double check and make sure everything's snugged. Remember, the plastic is potentially brittle. And get the control head back over here now. And now that it's plugged in, these two tabs here line up with these two slots here. And theoretically it should fall back into place like that. It did. Wonderful. And lastly, my two T20 screws. There, all done. Now to go see if it works. Okay, time to reinstall. Maybe easier to do the vacuum lines first, we'll see. Sure don't give a lot of room to work with, that's for sure. Let's just go ahead and plug the wires back in. The gray one goes on the right and the black one goes on the left. Now get this vacuum manifold on. Maybe a little tricky to show that because I don't have a lot of slack in it, but it just plugs back on. And then the little speed nuts. Yeah, it goes just in this orientation here. So I may have to get in the way just a little bit. I do apologize. Some of this stuff can be a little bit tricky. So I don't want to pull too hard on it and tear up a vacuum line. And a bit difficult to see the way this had to be done. But everything is back connected like it's supposed to be. Now we'll slide that assembly back in. Well, now it's time for the smoke test. vents, no problem. Let's go through all the settings. The temperature a little cooler. Okay, max AC is going. Regular AC, yep. Floor is working. Floor and defrost, which that's what it was doing when it was not working, and then defrost. Beautiful. And then he keeps it on automatic. Yep, it's popping right in. Very good. That's overriding, and they usually leave that in the middle. Then put it on auto. I think we're good. Go ahead and put the screws back in it. Cool deal. I actually got something to work right. So that's a great thing. Now just got to get it back in place. This is pretty straightforward. Just puts back in there where it went. And now, at long last, can pop the trim back on. Plug this wire back in for the rear defrost. I think we're done. See if I can duplicate the problem anymore. Max AC. All the way. It's getting pretty good and cold. It's going to defrost. Perfect. Floor. Vent. Cold again, and the max AC. I think we're good. Get all that put back like you had it. Got a random dog out here. There we go. We are working. So once again, this has been the HVAC repair on the old 2004 Grand Marquis. Thank you for watching.